Before we get to your scheduled video, please remember that likes and comments tell YouTube to promote our work to other people, and subscribing to the channel tells you when something new drops. You can also head to the link tree in the description to peruse my books, join us on Discord, or support us on Patreon. You can get episodes of Journey of Wrestling and Violent Profiles early, as well as a load of other treats. Even just $1 a month earns you a name drop for being cool. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show. Greetings and salutations, fellow sleepy people. It is I, Eric J. Chucci, joined as always by the boy.
Hey!
This is the Two Nerds Podcast, and this week we're talking about the MCU Disney Plus Hulu TV miniseries Echo.
Well, on Hulu.
Yeah, simultaneously released on Hulu and Disney Plus.
What? Why? You know what? No. Moving on.
Because Disney owns Hulu, and they're just kind of waiting out the contract before they shit can it.
And, integrate everything, maybe? Yeah.
Everything's already integrated.
Oh, okay.
Well, some of the Fox original stuff isn't, I don't think, but whatever. Who cares? Who's cool? Cool is the thing we're talking about. Cool at the top of the show. That's going to be a guy from Ohio, Harmony Rob, Destrucity, KTL, and Passion Killer 7E11.
Wonderful
Destroyer
to take inspiration from a name from a good shop, like a good reliable convenience store. I assume that's where that comes from. Your Destroyer of Ben 10 joke was much funnier, but I was already in the middle of my sentence.
I understand. I know the lore behind the name.
It's that's Kevin 11. That's his. There's already a character who is 11 in that show.
Yeah, that's why I made the joke.
Yeah.
Kevin 11, 7, 11. It sounds very...
No, not similar at all.
Fine.
One's a number.
Yeah, sure.
I'm getting in the mood for Echo.
By being bad?
Yep.
All right, so two things you guys need to know as we head into, more than 28 plus minutes of entertainment.
I bet.
Wow. Yesterday, I was awake for 22 and a half hours straight. Maybe longer, maybe 23 and a half, I don't remember. So the reasons aren't important.
He did a good sleep. He had a nice, productive day. We're at the tail end of it now.
Yes, I have stayed up so far an hour past when I went to bed last night. I'd like to stay up a little later, and part of that is talking about Echo. So if I say some weird shit or I talk stupid and slurred, that's why.
Yeah, he's very tired.
Yeah, I'm very tired.
If I say some mean shit, that's because of Echo.
But that was not how you felt at the start.
No, that's actually very important. When I watched this show, it had basically no impact on me positively or negatively. It was a thing that happened in my life, and then it was over, and that was the end of my experience with Echo. But the more I thought about it, and the more, and when he watched it, and the more I was forced to reconfront the things that actually happened in Echo, it was bad. I just didn't, absorb that at the time.
Yeah, that's the spoiler-free review. That's the second thing we should talk about. Don't watch Echo. This is the worst MCU thing I've ever seen.
And notably, we are not negative people. We try not to be negative on the podcast. We try our darndest to keep things positive. We liked many MCU properties that other people do not like. We liked Thor: Love and Thunder. We liked Ant-Man 3. Both are fun.
Yeah. I thought Secret Invasion was pretty cool.
Yeah, Secret Invasion was fun. I like Emilia Clarke's character. Her name is Gaia, and that's a very popular name, so it's hard for me to remember it. But I like her character just fine. I think she's going to be a fun addition to whatever Avengers team she's on. We're not the people who have the, the MCU is trash now opinion. Not only am I not those guys, I don't like those guys.
We have a whole second series of podcasts about flying in the face of those guys.
Yes.
Well, originally. Now it's about old 90s movies. But I digress. This movie also had zero effort buy-in. I thought Echo was a cool character in Hawkeye.
Yeah, she was very cool. She was a great addition to that show.
I really like Vincent D'Onofrio's Kingpin.
Happy to see him back. Happy to see more of him.
And I think Native American culture is really cool and interesting.
Same.
Whether
Who
that
wouldn't?
be
It is cool and interesting.
the deep spiritualism or life on the res or what have you, I just think it's really great set dressing or additions or insight.
I always like seeing portions of like both around the world, but American culture that don't get as much of a spotlight as general mainstream American culture does. So I'm happy to see this. This is cool. This is fun. This is interesting. I'd like to know more.
It had two native actors I really appreciate. A bunch of them. I think, honestly, and I do need to get out front and say this because it might get lost in the shuffle, the acting was really good.
Yes. All right. So we're going to be complaining a lot about Echo in the next 25 minutes. The actors, all of them, basically, are not the problem with Echo. The chicken shit they were given, they did their absolute goddamnedest to turn into chicken salad.
Excuse me if I butcher these names. I'm sleep deprived and didn't do my research, and I don't hear people say anything anymore. I just read text. But Zahn McClarnon and Graham Greene, I feel pretty comfortable with that last one. I've had a bunch of roles and have been in a bunch of stuff. I like both of them. They're both really good actors. Graham Greene was the only character in this show who wasn't an idiot.
And an asshole.
Yeah. He was just a good character.
He was neither, and thus he was the golden god of the show.
Yep. Look, okay. You made a joke about it before the podcast. A lot of people put a lot of hard work into this.
What I specifically did was I did a little dance and said, time to shit on something people put a lot of hard work into. Yeah. As like a joke, because we don't actually like doing that.
I think it's cool that this character's in the MCU. She's not like a top billing kind of character, and I just appreciate seeing stuff like that.
And conceptually, I really like the idea of the, Marvel Spotlight brand. Of course, it might not be long for this world, given the situation.
Right.
But I like the idea of telling more narrow, more focused, character-driven stories that aren't about, a big explosion and beams coming from the sky and stuff. That's interesting and fun and reflects a lot of parts of comics I actually like.
And I theoretically like the idea of a show that is largely performed with sign language. The ability a lot of these actors had to emote while signing instead of, using inflection vocally and what have you, is worthy of praise. Certainly. I have the ADHD.
So having you watch a show and just watch that show is asking a lot. Same thing with anything that requires you to read subtitles.
It is asking a lot. Reason. And it didn't bring a lot to be asking with.
If you force White Raven to watch a show with subtitles for any reason, that increases the bar you have to meet to not be met with at least some level of annoyance. And if you don't meet that bar, it impacts your letter grade.
Yeah, I
think honestly that might be part of like why it emotionally impacted you negatively, but more than it because I had no.
Well, okay, so like if this show had been mediocre,
which
like
again on my first watching is how I took it in.
If it had just been mediocre, I could have colored a picture. I could have put it on while playing a video game on my other monitor. There are so many things I could have done while digesting this show, and it wouldn't have impacted me so much. But because I was required to give it my full attention, all of its flaws were highlighted.
Yeah, you were required to scrutinize this, and so you did.
I still don't think I would have come out of this liking the show or anything. I would probably still say it's the worst MCU thing that's happened. It feels like a DC thing. And I mean like the DC extended universe.
You so eloquently put it, this feels like lower budget Blue Beetle.
Lower stakes Blue Beetle, not over the top Blue Beetle, and nowhere near as funny or entertaining.
No, this show was, I won't say a funeral dirge, but
it had some good jokes. There was something I laughed at.
Wasn't funny. And not everything from the MCU has to be, but this show was very self-serious.
It had a similar tone to the Netflix Daredevil series, I would say. Maybe the first season, anyway.
A little bit less good, in terms of like
A lot less good.
right, but like Daredevil was self-serious, also, but like it felt more earned, I guess is the easiest way to explain it.
Yeah, and I mean that's the biggest problem with the show is that it doesn't earn anything. And we are aware that the Rotten Tomatoes and general reviews are on the favorable side.
Yeah, certified fresh, audience and critic scores both. We are apparently in the minority here. Good. I'm glad you people like this. I don't understand how you I nothinged this, and that's the best. That's the highest it got, and it has only gotten lower as I have been forced to more thoroughly as I have been forced to actually think as opposed to just turning my brain off and watching it at Saturday morning. As I have been forced to think through the things that happen in the order they happen and like why they supposedly happen in the show, the angrier I have been getting at the show.
I would say this show's greatest sin is that it is boring.
Yeah, very boring.
This is the most... Look, okay, Luke Cage is probably one of my favorite TV series of all time. It does the same plot, sort of.
Luke, all right. One, Luke Cage's plot is very different because Luke Cage gives a shit about other people.
That's not... No. You're getting lost in the details, in the characters, in the fixings. Person started from the bottom, now they here.
I suppose
I am building my empire, whatever that empire may be. And I don't start with a lot, but I will do it with my X, Y, and Z.
Vaguely, until about halfway through the series, that's true.
For both. But it spends so many episodes doing that. Now, it only has 5.
I don't know that it spends so many episodes doing anything. I don't know that it has so many episodes.
But it also spends a lot of time showing us a different story that doesn't fucking matter.
This, I think this can basically wrap up the end of the spoiler-free review.
Yeah.
Don't see Echo.
Yeah, so let's just roll right through. So she, in the comics, at some point gets the Phoenix Force.
Yeah, until
I believe
then,
she's the present host of the Phoenix.
Full disclosure, I'm not super familiar with the character, but as I understand it, she's either like a street level, Daughter of the Dragon tier martial arts hero, or maybe has some minor superpowers around her being deaf. That's a full guess just because Daredevil exists and Marvel likes doing it.
That's approximately. She's an Olympic level athlete and has Olympic level athlete skill in being deaf.
Okay, good.
Like she can read people's lips through masks.
Okay, yeah. So yes, she is a Marvel street tier hero with some street tier pseudo powers. And that's how she starts this series. And that's who she was in Hawkeye. That character's cool. Giving this character the Phoenix Force, I like the Phoenix Force. White,
I don't.
Yeah, White famously, I think this is mentioned several times on the podcast even, does not.
I think it's a really stupid plot device, and I don't think anyone ever handles it well.
I think giving her superpowers, because, spoiler, they do, that is separate from her own thing, not essentially like the hand-me-down superpowers.
Well, and I think...
is cool.
Again, yeah, that in the vacuum.
Conceptually, cool idea.
I don't even hate how they decided to explain it. Well, it's just that the way they did tell the story that's bad. I don't mind that the reason she has her powers is because of this inherited family heritage of...
basically, family magic. Magic's well established in the MCU at this point. This is passed down magical lineage. That's fine.
One could even argue she might be an Eternal or
also well established.
What do you call
rather,
them?
not well, but established.
What are the other guys?
There's so many other guys.
The Terrigen Mist.
Inhuman.
that could be a viable origin. Or she might just be a different thing that's magic.
I mean, she might just be part of a lineage of mutants, which have
the same,
which have like a genetic memory mutation where they can pass down their powers and memories from generation to generation. There's so many different explanations that could fit this. They go real explicit with the origin of this particular superpower. That's fine. No problems there. Confusions, but no problems.
I just, like, we already have so little time with this series, and maybe the restructuring of the way Marvel is delivering content in the wake of a lot of unfavorable reviews was an impact. Maybe the various strikes were an impact.
But this show has the Nimona problem. It is two very, very different shows fighting for screen time.
And neither of them are really very good either. Like, Nimona was at least entertaining most of the time. There's
the dour, serious, like, Sons of Anarchy crime drama of Echo Maya Lopez. Because no one calls her Echo. Why would you? She's deaf. But of Maya Lopez, after shooting Kingpin in the face, being on the run for several years from Kingpin's men, is how it's established, as they, try and kill her. Because she starts the show with, like, bullet wounds and stuff. And then she's at war with Kingpin's empire, trying to take it over and become the Queenpin. There's that story, right? Then there is Maya Lopez, estranged from her family, comes home to reconnect with her family and native heritage, and unlock her Native American superpowers. That's what they are. I don't know a nicer way of phrasing that. Those two stories fit together about as well as motor oil and chocolate.
They can fit together really well. That sounds like a solid premise for a TV show. The problem is this implication of the Native American heritage that is leading to these powers, the echoes of her past.
Which, that is definitely the thing they really want to hammer home is the idea.
Oh, Grandma says it.
Yes, she name drops the thing. It's not subtle.
I don't even know if it being more subtle would have been better. It's just that you get these little vignettes about her ancestors, and they're just small stories, and they're really dirt simple. The core crime plot is really dirt simple. The villains that come in, Kingpin's men, lack in personality, in excitement, in menace.
Kingpin himself, because he's back. Spoilers, he lived through the end of Hawkeye.
I don't think that's a spoiler.
I mean, yeah, no, it wasn't. He does that in the comics, and no one thought they were going to get rid of Vincent D'Onofrio after one appearance. You'd be stupid to do that. Even he lacks gravitas and threat and all of the things that made him cool.
When you first watched through it, you suggested that perhaps if they had a few more episodes to work, the show could have been better. And I carried that while I watched, and I have to vehemently disagree.
You think more time would have been worse?
It would have been more crap.
Well, that's fair. That's a fair point. When I first watched it, basically it just felt rushed and boring. And thus was mediocre. Because the acting, again, still really good.
Yeah. I have no problem with anyone in this show in terms of acting.
But it's just the actual plot was rushed and kind of didn't make sense.
I mean, the whole thing was maybe 3 hours. This was a Marvel movie that was broken up into a mini-series and was kind of crap at that. It was released notoriously, or rather exceptionally, as a full series at once. It was deployed bingeable and was not paced to be deployed bingeable.
No, not really. It was a slow burn that never actually ignited.
I like that. I don't think that's how it is.
No, but it was a slow burn that never got anywhere until the very end when everything happens all at once, and the climax is stupid. And Kingpin is dumber now.
Well,
and his goons are dumber now.
He did get shot in the face.
You know what? Yeah, maybe he came out of getting shot in the face a little lopsided.
Like, of all the things that deserve criticism about this show, Kingpin being different now with capital letters makes sense. As you said, during the blip, he lost basically everything and has had to rebuild. All of the stuff that happened to him through the Daredevil series and Hawkeye, and he was shot in the face.
Yeah, it's not that I'm necessarily mad about that. It's just one piece of the puzzle, right?
Sure. We really liked the old Kingpin, and it really lent a new... I mean, a small aside here because, oh wow, we're actually making really good time. But I'll still make the aside. I have a lot of impatience with people who want to see darker and grittier versions of their, childhood cartoons and TV shows and such. There's a crowd of people that I see on social media that really want the Ninja Turtles to kill people and say fuck. And I don't get it. I just don't get it.
It's emotional immaturity that thinks that to be mature enough for you to absorb as an adult, it needs to also be the most shallow, juvenile idea of what an adult thing is.
Basically, yeah. Like, nothing I've gained in maturity, and I'm not trying to come down on people.
I am a little.
I lack their perspective on why this is cooler. But
I
regardless,
want the Ninja Turtles to kill people because they're wielding lethal weapons very, very willy-nilly. But like,
well, okay. I wouldn't mind like if they did a Ninja Turtles thing like that, and they have in the comics, and we're gonna get a Last Ronin video game.
It's basically for the same reason that Wolverine never really hitting anybody with his claws starts to look a little weird to me, or the fact that I can't watch the 90s Spider-Man cartoon anymore because he doesn't punch anyone, and someone pointed that out to me and my brain can't unsee it.
Right. But at the end of the day, the Ninja Turtles is a children's franchise.
Yeah, kill robots. That's fine.
Be realistic. If you're seeing a new tentpole TMNT release, not a side thing, it's not gonna be that.
Yeah, kill robots. Make all the enemies robots. I'm fine with that.
Anyway, to turn this back into the point I was trying to make, there is room for gritty TV series that have maturity and edge that are good. And I think the majority of the Netflix series were that. They pulled off an adult... Not that the Marvel comics even necessarily, and especially with lines like Luke Cage and Daredevil, were for kids... but it pulled off those more mature storylines really well. This doesn't. This felt like a really long episode of NCIS. Like...
and a weird one, too.
Yeah, but like from the perspective of the criminals. I don't watch a lot of TV, so like you said Sons of Anarchy, I did watch Sons of Anarchy. Sons of Anarchy was also a really boring, slow-paced show, but... it focused more on the things that make that kind of content interesting. Raw acting, painful stuff for the characters to go through. Whereas everything these characters had to go through, except for something that happened way in the fucking past, was so fleeting.
Now, can I take a minute to bitch about some just minor nitpicks that really bothered me about this show once I took time to think about them?
Please do.
So let's talk about how long... All right, in the beginning of the show, Maya comes home to her hometown. And everyone's really excited to see her. Like, half the population of the town. She, by coming back, is in fact the talk of the town for being back. And all of her family there, and her, has emotional reactions to her being there. And her cousin is very hurt when she finds out Maya did not want to see her for various character reasons. All of that would make sense if Maya had been gone for 5 years. Maybe since the snap. Or since her dad died during the blip. Because her dad died, and she, after that point, in the universe, in the timeline they set up in this show and in Hawkeye, after her dad was killed, she became one of Kingpin's minions to get vengeance and to, take out her rage, right?
I'm sorry, may I interrupt you briefly?
Sure.
You said Hawkeye accidentally, and I can't help but imagine a superhero that is exactly Hawkeye just sort of leaning.
My apologies, Hawkeye.
Please, thank you for bringing this into the world, Cockeye. Very good sharpshooting still. He just leans a little bit. Continue.
But all of that would be fine. Here's the thing, though. She hasn't been back to that town or seen in any of these people. They explicitly mention has not seen any of these people in 20 years. That's insane. Perhaps Maya didn't want to see her cousin that she hasn't seen in 20 years, because if you're still that butthurt about not seeing someone who you haven't seen in 20 years, you need to go to therapy.
I don't know how she didn't move on.
How did none of these people move on?
Well,
How did this town not move on? Zero.
The positive reactions I get. The grandma's reaction I get, where she just put some space between them and was like, look, if she shows up, cool. If not, whatever. I understand all of that. The cousin who was really butthurt still does not make any sense to me.
It's been 20 years. Maybe you guys texted? And they mentioned you never answered my text after your dad died. Maybe they talked via social media.
Maybe that was the stopping point, and that's why she's upset. But that's not...
But, that's not what's focused on. It's not, hey, I haven't heard from you in 5 years. Where have you been? It's, hey, you haven't been here in this town where I live and apparently cannot leave as I am soul-bound to this zip code. In 20 years, I still am very emotionally invested in you. It's been 20 years. I've never moved on. It's been 20 years. Why won't you like me? It's been 20 years. That person needs help, not to be part of, the fun gang.
Well, and, flipping it around as well on the grandma, and again, I'm tired, so my memory kind of sucks here, and also I'd like to forget about this show. She never contacted Maya, and the only reason she didn't want to talk to the family, like her side of the family, is that she blamed Maya's dad for getting her daughter killed, Maya's mother. And
quite unreasonably, it was just a random car accident in the rain.
Well, no, it was a hit.
They cut her brakes. They
cut her brakes. That's what happened. So he mentions that kind of offhandedly in the first episode. But and because seeing Maya was painful because it reminded her of her dead daughter, and that's a shitty reason.
That you're a shitty person.
That is at least realistic.
Yeah, Grandma is a very realistically well-drawn, well-acted shit human being who gets no comeuppance.
And she in fact gets to share the superpowers for a really fun kung fu kick-ass scene.
Yeah, Grandma beatdown happens. Grandma is she's not Moon Knight's mom, but she's in that caliber of person. Maya's grandmother is a terrible fucking human being.
I mean, she's forgettably shitty. It's like, okay, yeah, you suck. I'm not going to come to your house anymore. Not like I'm going to burn down your house. Just, I don't want to be here. Because, I mean, if she didn't have superpowers, and it frustrated me, the fact that Maya has superpowers justifies Grandma's terrible behavior.
It does, but the thing is, it only justifies it in that it makes it so the show doesn't address it. Because in universe, it doesn't make it. Her behavior is not in any way justified. They just don't care. She's shitty and gets away with it, and no one cares.
Yeah, and it's. I'm using improper terminology.
Karma Houdini, I think, would be the. She's just because there's a scene at the end where they have a big Fast and the Furious cookout, and Grandpa, who has been amazing and great and helpful and
that's the Graham Greene one.
Yeah, and supportive this whole time, and has done his best to mend fences between family members who are feuding, and he's been charming and winning, and he's helped, and he's made cool prosthetics for Maya, and he's been a very great supportive character. He doesn't get to come to the cookout, but this mean old bitch who washed her hands of her actual living granddaughter because she was butthurt at her dad for 20 years does get to come to the cookout, and everyone's cool with it.
Well, and that's the thing as well. Cousin's so mad at Maya, but
not Grandma.
Yeah.
Not the person who realistically cut Maya off from your family by virtue of being the one who cut ties and distancing herself.
And having the position of matriarch in that way.
Yeah. She was the adult, she was the grown-up, Maya was a child. And one of these two people is the one who did the cutting off, and it was the grown-up, and you're mad at Maya.
Now, the thing is, are these unrealistic characters? No.
No,
I
the
know
cousin
all
is.
of
The cousin
I know
is,
of the cousin.
You know someone who hasn't seen someone in 20 full years and is still really emotionally invested in them?
I don't have time to do the math, but yes.
Oof, my dog. Hey, this is me reaching out. All right, reaching an olive branch. If you're within the sound of my voice and there's a human being you haven't seen in 20 years, let it the fuck go.
It's okay to miss somebody, but
Don't let that person have that kind of power over you. Whether or not they're a good person is immaterial.
whether or not you really want to see them.
Don't let another human being have that much control over your happiness.
No, that's not good.
It's just such a minor nitpick, but the timeline makes all of the people in that town's reactions insane. Fully crazy.
And it's like I said, there's so little else going on. This plot is so simple. The emotion is so shallow. The choreography is so okay. The soundtrack is boring. And there's a Rob Zombie needle drop in this. And I mean, it's the most stereotypical Rob Zombie needle drop you could have asked for. They didn't even bother going with like a slightly less popular one like Super Beast or something. But like it's still the most lame soundtrack I've heard. The opening theme is fine, and like the OST is also, it's up to caliber, but the jukebox part, blur. There's so much nothing. It's like a marshmallow. It's air. It's all air. So that when there is a bad part, you notice.
Well, that's the thing. This is one of those things I noticed at the time and just went, you know what? I'm just not going to think about it. It's not worth the investment. This show is mid. And then as I was forced to confront it more and more, and I was forced to think about it more and more, it bothered me more and more.
I didn't set my feelings aside. I had to watch. They made me watch. So, like, is there anything else that needs to be... Oh, yeah, where do we go from here? Okay, first of all, Daredevil, I guess, was a big part of the marketing advertisement. My man's is in it for 5 minutes tops.
You want to see Daredevil? You're excited for more Charlie Cox Daredevil? You're right, and you're good, and you're just to be excited. Watch episode 1. Once he's off screen, he'll show up, and then he'll go away. That's the last you'll see him. You can turn the show off.
Watch She-Hulk. He's in it more. And She-Hulk, despite its ending, was a way better show.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say that. She-Hulk was a much different show, but a much better show than this show.
Ultra Double Super Spoilers that I had spoiled for me on Facebook was the title of an article about what's going on in the MCU now. Not that it's a huge deal, but whatever. I don't know. Why title your articles like that?
Clicks.
I didn't click it. I'm mad.
You didn't.
No, I didn't.
Someone else did.
Upset. Yeah, I guess. Anyway, I've given you enough time to click away. Kingpin is going to be running for political office.
They set that up at the very end. It's like the teaser.
Yeah. I think that's fun. I think that's a fun story.
It's a very famous Kingpin story.
I'm looking forward to seeing where that goes. And
I'm looking forward to seeing more of this character.
Sure.
Now that she's got, like, very... Alright, I was going to say nebulously defined. No, the problem is very weirdly, specifically, and pedantically defined superpowers.
She has the Phoenix Force, which...
No, because it's not even that similar.
Yeah, she's got energy projection and healing and maybe some other stuff, too.
Some mild super strength.
Yeah.
I just...
Little durability.
Little bit.
But it only comes out at her emotional heights or when it's most needed. What if the Phoenix Force and the Iron Fist had a baby, and the baby was not quite as good as either of them? That's it?
It's just they had a little Planet Tears moment with the superpowers in the climax where all of the various very, I'll say straightforward, non-complex storytelling vignettes they've had about all of the many cool, brave ladies in the history of Echo's lineage.
Please do not sully the great name of Captain Planet and the Planeteers with I am all of the Jedi.
I mean, I was trying to be nicer, but it's I am all of the
It's
Jedi.
a little better than I am all of the Jedi. The way they tell the storytelling is more visual and not as stupid. I'll give it that credit too.
There is no Lisa needs braces sequence until the very end.
Right, but like, don't sugarcoat this. It doesn't deserve the sugar.
I'm trying. I don't like being so mean.
Make a better show.
But it's yeah, it is. She is how all of the various stories she has been seeing, or we've been seeing. Usually, it's
She's
her.
been dreaming them.
Yeah, she's been dreaming
Yeah.
them. Embody various different aspects of her superpower, and then instead of having a cool fight scene, we get to watch one magical grandma punch a guy, and then she healing magic's Kingpin until he cries and runs away like a little child.
I don't know, gives him psychological healing.
She gives him like weaponized therapy.
Yeah. I don't hate that, actually. I mean, they didn't.
What are you
do it
doing?
well.
I'm making you deal with your shit.
Basically, it's the reverse of what happens at the end of The Crow. It's a great moment for her character, and it's honestly a shame that it's so crappy because she is overcoming all of her desire to be like the worst parts of her father, to follow in the footsteps of the Kingpin, to live that life of power and control.
And she's letting her go of her anger and rage and focusing on trying to help her uncle, who she does love and was a good caregiver for her as a child and she was very close to.
One of my favorite video games, period, ends with a very similar scene. You find the person who destroyed your reputation, killed one of your pets, I think maybe killed one of your parents and a bunch of people by their actions that were blamed on you, and ruined your life in the small town you live in, when you cannot really communicate well to share these details with other people. And as he is like pulling a gun on you, you hug him. And it's beautiful.
It is something they could have done well, but it was so badly set up.
It was so crappily set up and executed.
And bookmarked by Grandma Magic Punch and Biscuits built a monster truck in a day in the scrapyard.
Biscuits was the least important thing in that show. I don't know why he was there. He wasn't even funny.
It was bookended on both sides by the dumbest possible bullshit. This show didn't make me well disposed, because I didn't like this at the time. This show didn't make me well disposed to accept this ending, which could have otherwise been. And I got what they were going for, which is again why at the time I didn't judge it too harshly. I just didn't like it. I got what they were going for, but like the execution does not meet this concept.
No.
That's the thing. It would actually be pretty easy to fix this show.
Do it better. Everything you tried to do is fine in theory. You just screwed it up.
Now, we say that, but of course everyone else liked it, so I guess fuck us.